Hi everybody, this is Lowell talking about music theory and in particular harmony. And I wanted to talk a little bit about inversions today and kind of the difference between the way jazz thinks and the way classical analysis thinks. And so I wanted to just talk about some of the scale or some of the triads that we've talked about already and use C major as kind of our jumping off point. But and we talked about how there are triads that you can build on top of each note of the C major scale or any other major scale. So just to refresh, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, and then you can build your triads on top of or using that scale. You can build your triads. All right, so the what I wanted to show you here is how basically inversions are made, and that is by simply taking the bottom note of this triad and putting it up on top. And so now we have that pattern, and then the next triad is built by putting this bottom note up on top, an octave higher, and then we do that again, this note up on top, because you couldn't really see that, but anyway, so this is called root position, 1, 3, 5, and then this is called first inversion, and that's actually in classical music that's termed 6, 3, all right, and that's counting from whatever the bottom note is. And jazz thinks differently than this, but in classical music analysis, you would call this a C major 6-3 chord. So you count the notes of the C major scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3. So that's 6-3. And then the next inversion is called 6-4 chord. So that's a C6-4 chord, and that's second position, second inversion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're back to root position again. All right, and so when you have when you add one more third to deal with, then you're getting into kind of jazz harmony. But this does happen in classical music as well, especially with the dominant 7. But also the minor 7 is common, and then the major 7. Augmented 7 is very popular, very used a lot, and we talked about those in a previous video. But I'm just going to take a major 7 so you can kind of see the relationship in the key of in the scale of C. And so here's first position, and then here's second position, or first inversion rather, and then here's second inversion. And then third inversion, because we have an added note, and now we're back to root position. So this is actually called root position, and then this is called a 6-5-3 chord, and then this is called a 6-4-3. Right, and you're counting from the bottom note, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have a 6-4-2, so 6-4-2 from the bottom note, and that's those are all your inversions. And jazz thinks a little bit differently than this. If you were to notate this, this would be notated as a C major 7 chord, and you can write it either as a capital MAJ. I don't know if it's standardized yet. It wasn't standardized several years ago, but what I do is I draw a triangle and that stands for major. So anyway, C major 7, and then if you did this inversion like I was talking about in a classical analysis where you have the E on the bottom, then how this would be notated in jazz, it would be C major 7, and then you'd put a slash and then the bass note would be the E, because that's the bottommost note. And so what the note that's on the bottom is only one note, whereas the chord that's written, or the alphabetical name that's on the top is actually a chord, but underneath the slash mark, that's actually just a single note, and so that's to designate the bass line. And so this would be a C major 7, and then slash G, and then this would be a C major 7, and then a slash, and then B, because B is your bottom note. And so, if you get into jazz theory where you're starting to stack more than the seventh note, you get into the ninth and the 13th, then the same idea applies with inversions. Really, in jazz, the most important thing that is necessary or needful is to know what the bass note is. And so you're always going to have whatever the chord is, and then a slash, and then the single bass note. So you go, why are inversions helpful? And one reason is for voice leading, and I personally think that's the most important aspect. And we started out this whole theory course talking about the importance of linear motion instead of just harmonic vertical motion, that we think about linear horizontal motion. And so just in a real simplistic way, when I'm playing this C chord, if I want to go to the 4 chord, if I want to do this, basically, this touch sensitivity is no good. Anyway, so here's 1, and then here's 4, and then here's 5, but that's kind of clunky, to get around that way, doing everything with root position, so C to F to G back to 1. And so it's much more elegant to have these top 2 lines simply do the 4 chord in a, second inversion. So it goes, and then the 5 chord in, I guess that's first inversion or second inversion. Anyway, one of the inversions. My brain's not working more. Okay, so C, F, C, G, C. All right, and so you have inversions that allow these top 2 notes to actually be a melodic line and not jump all over the place. It's very, elegant. And so, the top note or line, as a person would be playing it, would be doing this. And then same thing here with the middle line. And then, so inversions allow you to actually write linearly, and so that you can have, so that your players are not just jumping all over the map to make a nice melodic line. So that's a little. There's much more to how all of this can function in terms of harmonic analysis, especially if you're looking harmonically at some Bach chorales. Can get very very intricate and interesting. So I just encourage you to experiment with some of these things and play around with inversions. It helps give your keyboard playing, for sure, if you're a keyboard player, a lot more variety if you have all those different variations of chords in your dexterity and in your muscle memory. So that's a little discussion about inversions.